Imagine a single mispronounced syllable costing you your life. Because you let slip 4 Hebrew letters so volatile, rabbis treated them like a live grenade the Romans would happily detonate. That's the name, the unspoken signature of the God of Israel. And entire civilizations rewired their rituals just to avoid the blast. 4 letters, Yod, He, Vav, He. Look harmless on parchment, yet ancient Jews built an elaborate verbal minefield around them. From temple courts to medieval scriptoria, every policy, pen stroke, and whispered euphemism circled the question. How do you worship a deity whose very name feels more dangerous than any enemy blade? Say the name aloud in a Jerusalem alley circa 30 CE, and the Sanhedrin could drag you out for execution before your echo died. Blasphemy wasn't theoretical. Josephus records men hauled to stone pits for less provocative syllables. To Roman ears, this seemed quaint, yet they gladly leveraged the taboo to sniff out rebels. At the center of the paradox stood Exodus's command not to bear the name in vain. Rabbinic lawyers stretched vain so tight it covered every misuse: sorcery, courtroom oaths, barroom jokes. Safer to never utter it at all. Hence the euphemistic dance, Adonai, Hashem, even a pointed cough. Yet once a year, someone did say it, loudly. On Yom Kippur, the high priest marched through incense haze into the Holy of Holies, pronounced a 72-letter permutation, and the waiting crowd outside fell flat, chanting to drown the syllables. Imagine tailgaters booing their own quarterback, so the rival team can't steal the playbook. The priest's vocal cord gamble came with perks: instant access to heaven's customer service line, perfect for absolving national sin before lunch. But post-temple rabbis noticed a trend. Every healer who claimed the name left political bodies piled up, so the knowledge was quarantined, passed orally to disciples deemed pious and boring enough not to weaponize it. Meanwhile, imperial administrators found an easier path. Accuse any inconvenient Jew of blasphemy, cite the unutterable name, and let mob justice handle the paperwork. Philo grumbles about Alexandrian riots, sparked by graffiti spelling YHWH beside a donkey. By the time questions were asked, the suspect's tongue was already removed. Even early Christians tiptoed. Paul substituted Lord when preaching to Greeks. Gospel scribes inserted kurios, smoothing the name into something imperial bureaucrats could copyright. What began as caution became translation policy. Scrub the source, sanitize the edges, preserve the faith by amputating its most atomic syllables. By the 2nd century, ossuaries show dots replacing letters. A Qumran scroll writes the name in Paleo-Hebrew, while everything else stays square script, as though the scribe changed pens mid-sentence to avoid cross-contamination. Centuries later, the Talmud sealed the deal. Speak the name outside liturgy, and you forfeit the world to come. Cosmic eviction paperwork stamped in eternity. Of course, the taboo only magnified curiosity. Children dared each other to mouth the consonants behind olive presses. Market charlatans sold amulets promising the true intonation, neatly circumventing prosecution by inscribing just the first and last letters. Divine power allegedly slips past angels if you leave the middle blank. Medieval scribes treated the name like radioactive ink. They washed their hands, snapped the quill, and buried the stump after writing 4 letters. An 11th century Geniza list records 22 retired pens, each sacrificed to a single appearance of YHWH. Picture a desk piled with tiny wooden tombstones, calligraphy gone full mortuary. The logic was grimly practical. Quills wear down. Slip once and an extra serif can transmogrify holiness into heresy. Better destroy the tool before fatigue invites disaster. Yes, you read that correctly. They unionized peril into procedure. The Masorets, 9th century scholar nerds in Tiberias, pushed precision further. They invented vowel marks, but grafted Adonai's vowels onto the consonants, creating Yehovah, a Frankenstein vocalization screaming, "Don't read me." Renaissance Christians misread the code, birthed Jehovah, and whistled through Europe certain they'd cracked a sacred cipher, while Jews blinked in horrified bemusement. Copy errors still crept in, and when they did, the scribe didn't blot. He excised. Whole sections were cut out and buried like contaminated soil. Cairo's Ben Ezra synagogue amassed rooms of discarded parchment, half a millennium of textual quarantine. Somewhere among them lies a page where a fly died mid-stroke on the name, dooming the sheet because you can't swat holiness. Ink style mattered too. Ashkenazi tradition bolded the 4 letters. Sephardic scribes crowned them with microscopic tagging. Nothing says piety like accessorizing an unspeakable name with miniature fashion hats. Censors noticed. In 1242, King Louis IX ordered Jewish books inspected for magic. Inspectors opened a glossed Torah, saw the name sparkling thicker than the text, panicked, and thousands of volumes burned in Paris while monks chanted psalms that likewise circled the forbidden word. Carbonized tetragrammaton dust drifted over rooftops. Accidental airborne blessing or curse. Not every inquisitor was spooked, some were opportunistic. Dominican polymath Raymond of Peñafort coaxed converts to reveal the pronunciation so he could stage public exorcisms, doubling as recruitment drives. The name came out garbled. Audiences heard exotic throat noise. Demons conveniently exited, and the informant prayed mispronunciation might save him from heavenly penalties. Performance art meets theological insurance fraud. Within Jewish walls, German pietists tinkered with permutations, claiming the right vibrato healed boils, summoned angels, or, rumor claimed, exploded a pigeon. Elders reminded them curiosity is the most stubborn heresy, but curiosity kept humming. The result? A community forever balancing devotion and dread. Boys learning to read were coached to whisper substitutes. Grandmothers who'd survived pogroms still trembled before mumbling Hashem. It wasn't superstition, it was collective muscle memory, encoded by centuries of quills snapping like gunshots. In 16th century Prague, Rabbi Lowe allegedly animated a clay giant by carving the name on its forehead, then erased 1 letter to deactivate it. Proof mispronunciation could kill stone. Legend aside, city ledgers note a sudden drop in violent crime that month, and a hulking servant who never removed his hat. Stories like that terrified authorities. Edicts banned Hebrew amulets. Border guards confiscated mezuzahs. A Bavarian duke ordered homes inspected for suspicious clay statues. Counter-terror policy gone theological. The irony: Jews feared misuse just as much. Kabbalist Isaac Luria warned that casual utterance could reverse creation's plumbing, sucking light back into chaos. Portuguese mystic Abraham Miguel Cardoso claimed the name hummed in his veins during seizures. He fasted to muffle the syllables before, rumor insists, accidentally causing an earthquake. Courts still prosecuted pronunciation. A 1625 responsum from Salonika records a merchant blurting the name while haggling spices. Verdict: 39 lashes, hefty fine, and exile. Judges regretted Ottoman law denied the older, sharper penalty. The merchant called that providence. Fear seeped into print. Early Venetian Hebrew printers promised censors the type for the name would never be set. They left a white box like a missing tooth. Compositors dubbed it the Holy Gap, and readers mentally filled the silence, devotional mad libs that made the name more alive than ink ever could. Modernity didn't puncture the hush. When the telegraph arrived in 1867 Jerusalem, rabbis debated whether Morse dots could spell the name and trigger cosmic feedback. Operators were told to pause reverently after each Y buzz. The sky stayed put, but fingers still trembled. During World War II, British intelligence drafted Hebrew code phrases for partisans. One included the tetragrammaton until a chaplain threatened to resign, warning the broadcast might anathematize every radio within range. Planners swapped it for Shaddai. Even fighting fascism, linguistic landmines mattered. Today, Orthodox websites render the name as GD because pixels might vanish in a server crash and improper disposal would ensue. Academics discuss the tetragrammaton, like physicists referencing isotope 239. Everyone knows what they mean. Nobody risks detonation. The centuries-long hush campaign has mellowed terror into etiquette. And yet, the name still pulls. Pilgrims wedge prayer slips into Western Wall crevices, dodging the forbidden letters while addressing the one who cannot be named. Silence, it seems, is humanity's loudest reverence. And ancient Jews wrote its definitive style guide. Listen to a modern courtroom and you'll still hear witnesses swear to tell the whole truth, so help me God. Carefully generic, legally safe. Brands obsess over trademarks, politicians over titles, but nothing matches four ancient consonants that once ignited riots, snapped quills, and allegedly animated monsters. We scroll faster and shout louder, yet some names remain louder in their absence than any sound we can stream.